Alright, here we go. Welcome back to Case Closed, Anime Review, episode 301. Yep, past 300 now. So we're here discussing the newest episode of the series, episode number... Oh, I thought this was my neck. My mistake. This is going to be a Tucker episode 1100 and... What? Never mind. Okay, here we go. Now I got the thing really working here. Okay. So, I'm on episode 1185. I'm trying to get it here. My computer is not exactly cooperating with me here. Hang on. Okay. Probably could see too many documents open. Let's see. Come on. Come on. Thank you. Okay. The red brick house and the vanishing woman and the come on. Come on! Come on! I'm trying... There's at times my computer just doesn't want to cooperate with me at all. Okay. Now, okay. The red brick warehouse and the vanishing kidnapper. So this episode pretty much adapts the rest of chapter 1124 and goes to the entirety of 1125. I should also point out, though, there will not be a review for it. Well, I might review the newest chapter for Case Closed that comes out of the manga, but there will be no new chapter of the new episode of the anime next week. Nope, we're taking a week off because it's going to repeat next week because they release another remastered episode. Fine. So this is what happens. We focus a lot on Tech the Boys, where we basically have Conan show off the various ways for a paper to make a paper airplane, to make it to a rocket, a bird, and finds out where Shiori is after asking around, like, oh, I mentioned about a guy who's got like a mark in his hand. They figure out, obviously, it's a nurse. Yep, and they theorize that the housekeeper is basically one of the kidnappers, because this actually was a new housekeeper, because the last housekeeper got fired due to playing games on her phone when she's supposed to be on the clock, which, well, that could be a plausible reason because she wasn't working. I would, if I was this maid, I would have done it on my break, not while I'm supposed to be working. Because while you're working, you're not technically supposed to have your phone out per se, unless of course you're a higher level official like a manager. A manager's got to roll out as much as they can. When I take my phone out, I take it out very briefly to do one thing and then just put it away. I don't leave it out. So, yeah. And of course, then they go to the manager, and of course they contact Sato, of course, where it informs her about the whole thing, and also, just by sheer coincidence, before they called, Jugo and another police officer showed up, possibly had some pancakes, and seeing Chei, which is so funny, his reaction seeing her. So, then of course, basically, then they figure out, then of course, it gets his cooperation to figure out one of these three guys might be an actual nurse. There is a guy with a dragon coat, a guy who's lightly dressed, and another guy, and they figure out who it is. So, and also they also have this thing with the dice, which of course spells out, gives it to the maid who sees it and basically give up. Meanwhile, though, while she's doing this, there's an inspector who goes up the stairs and instantly finds the kidnapped child they're looking for all along, hiding in the attic. They had kind of suspected that possibly there was more than maybe a couple people, but they narrowed down there's two. They don't reveal exactly the reason why the kidnapping happened why the housekeeper was involved, and of course they easily figure this out by claiming she, the whole thing medical knowledge, and Sato realizing, yeah, that's how a medical professional would say, and so the housekeeper is immediately arrested for kidnapping. But in the case of the other guy, they figure him out by playing music for somebody. Beethoven doesn't do anything, and then play another piece of music, And that's what gets the guy who is one next to Chiori. That gets basically the guy who she's standing near gets his attention because he's a former nurse. And then he's surrounded. I love the special effect they do here where they have all the cops surrounding them. We have 5 police officers. One of them is a uniform one, and he's immediately arrested. And Takagi, and of course they handcuff the guy back in the car. Takagi says, "Oh yeah, Sato's pulling his cheek and says we gotta go to the interrogation room, possibly so she can smooth things over with him, maybe to have a private makeout, probably a private makeout session with him, purely because basically these two are a couple." And Chiori basically gets her. Apparently, they also switch clothes back off screen. This time they probably went to the bathroom switch clothes instead of doing it in Sato's car. So then they go off, and that's the episode. It's a really fun episode. It's a really fun 2-parter. I do enjoy the case. The only problem is, a lot of the time they do explain exactly the reason for this stuff. Here, this feels like a random kidnapping, and it just happened to happen. Like, oh, the victim was the person who was kidnapped was not actually in some other location. She was in the attic all along because the housekeeper was one of the kidnappers. And here's the thing. They do not explain the reason for this all. The manga, it's not the anime's fault, the fact that they had no explanation here. That's actually the manga's fault for that. Yeah. I guess that the writer felt as though, like, yeah, let's just wrap up and move on. Because the story just ends without any explanation of the reason for this all. Because I was hoping I might have a post-credit scene explain this. Well, no, not necessarily. The post-credit scene is completely different. The post-credit scene actually ties in with the series plot. What Conan realizes, though, the whole thing with the Mass Yaiba, where, like, Micho's had all along, and he opens up, apparently there's a transmitter inside, he smashed it, and apparently a person on the other end who's listening to all this was Amuro. Yep, it was Amuro all along. Interesting. Where this is going to go, who the heck frickin' knows? Because the next arc does not follow this at all. Not really, no. And it is my personal theory that the anime will probably start with the case that skipped over, which was another Kaiju Kid case. They're probably going to start this out next month, presumably. Yeah, my guess is that we're probably going to have the original case probably the cap off the year, and probably have the Kaiju Kid case probably to start out the very next year. Yes, because of the fact they covered like 3 chapters, you think like at this point, oh, there's like 30 chapters left to be adapted. Not really, no. It's actually 33 because they skipped over. Actually, it's a little more than that because they skipped over the Kaiju Kid case. So I'm guessing they may be doing this probably the start of the very next year. And it's still my personal theory of the reason why they had this case be put here instead of the Kaiju Kid one is because Chiori just returned in the manga. Just fairly recently, and that's primarily the reason why. It's almost like the anime tries to make sure, like, if a character returns to manga, let's adapt the last case they appeared in before that. That's my guess anyways, but who knows? Right now, we're on basically chapter 1155, The Whereabouts of the Ring. Well, so basically after Jugo to brief everybody about stuff going on, and we still see the dead body is still there. Where they still look around like, oh, there's blood in the ground, like basically like blood in the, and of course basically it's like, so explain the reason why they're wet, because they tripped over a bucket. Yep. And of course, the thing on the floor, and then, oh, no trace in the seat. And I'm thinking, like, why is there uniformed police officers here? Oh, I think because basically it's raining. Because at times, basically, and this is actually not exactly follow this chapter. This happens, like, if it rains too hard, they can't exactly go because it might cause some roads to be muddy. It could be, who knows. So, yeah. And the police gets up, and of course Jugo asks various individuals about stuff. Then of course you have Shura basically clear now. It's being active crime scene. It's like ask somebody and well, like check the underwear, and then of course they have to look around the hot spring, looking for this ring. Yeah, apparently it was there. Apparently it got moved for some reason. And Jugo's looking around outside with a raincoat. Not finding much of anything, or it's all about magic trick. And talk about Jinpei, her brother. Yes, her brother was killed by, of all things, a car bomb. Yes, seriously. That's the interesting about the Wild Police story. It's like all but one are currently dead. And like, two of them died via bomb. One basically got killed by accident by running by a car. But Armor was like, oh, left alive. So, and then Conan kind of figures out exactly who the killer might be, and that's the chapter. Probably find out next week about this one. There probably will be a new chapter review next week, just to keep up with the case close up, but there will not be a new episode release next week. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is a comic corner, and then basically it's on to Rama Half next. Okay, next video. Bye.